Hi, we're back with Listen, Chapter 2, Promise. She's standing there, trying to figure out where the dog is, how it could have gone without a sound, without her seeing it go, when she hears a car coming up the slope of the road behind her. That probably explains the dog's leaving, she thinks. Its sharp ears must have heard the crunch of tires on gravel long before she did. A black SUV appears over the crest of the hill. It is Mrs. Davis with her kids, Jeremy and Beth Ann, and Sadie, their golden retriever. The car comes on past their drive and stops beside her. Mrs. Davis puts down the window. "Hey, Charlie, you're looking great. A little hot, but great. This your first time around the lake?" Charlie nods. "Good for you." The back window goes down and Beth Ann puts her head out. "Are you all done with your crutches?" "All done," Charlie says to Mrs. Davis. "Have you all seen a wild dog hanging around?" "You mean Wolfie?" Beth Ann says. Mrs. Davis laughs. "Have we seen him? He's Sadie's best friend, follows her everywhere she goes. He showed up about a month ago and he's been hanging around ever since. That dog's a real sweetie, if you ask me, except he's terrified of people. Something really bad must have happened to him." In spite of the heat, Charlie feels goosebumps rise on her arms. Something really bad. "How does he eat?" she asks. "Doesn't much, as far as I know. He's thin as a rail." "He's practically starving, but Mummy won't let us feed him," Beth Ann says. Mrs. Davis shrugs. "You feed a dog and you're stuck with it. Sadie's more than enough dog for us. Somebody around here must be giving him something, though. I can't believe he's living entirely on mice and voles." "He could catch squirrels," Jeremy says, sticking his blonde head out the window next to Beth Ann. "There's bazillions of squirrels." "Too many trees," Mrs. Davis tells him. "It's too easy for them to get away." She turns back to Charlie. "I called animal control. Thought maybe if they took him, somebody might adopt him. They couldn't catch him. That dog's too wily. They baited the trap with a can of tuna. Told us tuna'd catch any dog. Not that one. They said they'd come back when they could gather up enough volunteers to surround him, but it's been weeks and I haven't heard anything." Charlie thinks about a dog too wily to be caught like other dogs. A starving dog that something really bad happened to. She imagines the golden dog with the wild eyes surrounded by people closing in to catch him and put him in a cage. It makes her feel sick to her stomach. Maybe I could get him to come live with us. As soon as the words are out of her mouth, she wants to take them back. She's never had a dog. She knows nothing about dogs. Mrs. Davis grins. "Well, that'd be super. We've been worried to death about him." "Can't nobody get close to him," Jeremy says. "We've been trying. How y'all even going to get him over to the other side of the lake?" Charlie doesn't have an answer. It isn't as if she's thought this out. "Well, good luck to you," Mrs. Davis says, and begins to back the car down the road. "Anything we can do to help? Just let us know." Charlie stands there, feeling like an idiot. She doesn't want a dog. Not any dog, let alone a wild and terrified one. Except there was this moment when she first saw him. Maybe it was the way he was sitting, so straight and tall, so incredibly alert. Right then, he didn't look scared or starving. He looked wild, magical. Part of the woods. When Jeremy and Beth Ann get out of the car in their driveway, Sadie leaps out between them and tears down the road towards Charlie. She jumps up and puts both paws on Charlie's chest so that Charlie has to hang on to her walking stick to keep from being knocked over. Sadie's tongue slathers Charlie's face. "Down, Sadie!" Mrs. Davis yells. "Get down! Charlie's in no shape to have dogs jumping on her." "It's okay." Charlie pushes Sadie down and wipes her cheek on her shoulder of her t-shirt. The wild dog is suddenly there, as if he is materialized out of the woods. Like a ghost, Charlie thinks again. Sadie runs to greet him. Tails wagging, they touch noses and then jump at each other. The wild dog is very nearly the same color as Sadie, except for his black muzzle and ears, and very nearly the same size. Charlie can see his ribs through his fur, and his tail is matted. That's all tangled and knotted. If it were combed, Charlie thinks, it would be every bit as thick and plumy as Sadie's. Sadie begins chasing him around a hydrangea bush in the Davis' yard. The wild dog swerves and cuts behind a tree, leaping out as Sadie runs past and grabbing her by the scruff of the neck. Bigger and heavier, Sadie knocks him sideways and breaks his grip, then grabs him by one ear. I told you they were best friends, Mrs. Davis says, pulling a bag of groceries out of the back of her car. Come on, kids, help! Charlie thinks about what Mrs. Davis said about the wild dog following Sadie. Do you think if Sadie came around the lake with me, he would follow us? I wouldn't be surprised. He follows when Dawn takes Sadie running. He doesn't like the road, though. It's too wide, too exposed, I think. He likes to stay under cover in the woods. Not the road. If she tries this, walking Sadie to get the wild dog to follow, she'll have to take the woods trail. No, she won't do that. But the dog is starving. Again, her mouth seems to work without her permission, as if somebody else is using it. Would it be okay then if I walk Sadie over to my house? If the dog follows, I could feed him something. Oh, here comes Gilly. Good idea. Mrs. Davis reaches into her grocery bag and pulls out a can of dog food. She gives it to Jeremy to take to Charlie. Give him that. Thanks. Charlie puts the can of dog food in the pocket of her cargo shorts. Good luck. Mrs. Davis starts for the house. When we want Sadie home, she calls over her shoulder, we'll just holler for her. She can swim back. Can I go along with Charlie? Beth Ann asks. You may not. That dog doesn't need any extra people to contend with. Bring the milk. When Mrs. Davis and the children go into the house, Charlie calls to Sadie, you want to go for a walk? Oh gosh. Not you. We'll walk later. I know. I said the magic words, didn't I? Sorry. So, Charlie was asking Sadie if she wanted to go for a walk. Don't look at me like that with those puppy dog eyes. Oh, Santa, you're so funny. Before she has a chance to fend the dog off with her walking stick, there are new red-orange paw prints on the front of her shirt. Charlie looks for the wild dog and sees that he's back in the woods across the road. I'm not making any promises, she tells the dog, except this one. If you come around the lake with Sadie and me now, I'll give you some food. That's all. A slant of sunlight through the trees catches the gold of his fur, and he twitches his ears, but he doesn't move. Let's go, Charlie calls to Sadie. Let's walk. Not you again. Sadie barks and runs ahead toward where the road ends and the kudzu-covered slope down to the power line right away. Charlie uses the bottom of her t-shirt to wipe the sweat from her face and starts limping after her. As if she understands the plan, Sadie turns onto the narrow trail that winds down the steep hill next to the last house on the south side of the lake, Crazy Sherman's log cabin, with its odd collection of sculptures made from bits of rusted junk. Limping, Charlie follows. At first, she's glad to get off the road, where walking on the gravel keeps twisting her ankle and her knee, sending jolts of pain through her leg. But the trail, narrow and uneven underfoot, isn't much better. It is crisscrossed with kudzu vines like an obstacle course of tripwires. Halfway down, she turns to see if the wild dog is following, and her foot catches on a vine. She has to grab for a sapling, that's a little tree, and stab her stick into the dirt to keep from falling down the hill. As she pulls herself upright, she catches a glimpse of the wild dog slipping in between the trees up near the road. He is following. And that is the end of chapter 2.